Before I was a pastor, I was an adjunct professor of comparative religions at Riverside Community College for 13 years. And in one of my semesters teaching there, I had two students who were friends who were of a religion that believed you should never go visit any other religious site other than their own. And so in my world religions class, I told all of the students that they needed to visit 5 sites of a variety of different religions. And I gave them a list of about 20 places to choose from. And I said, pick your favorite 5, the 5 that seem most interesting to you, and go visit there. Use all of your 5 senses to engage in that place. What are you seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching? And talk to some people there. Take some pictures of yourself there and write up a little report. Why do you think that people enjoy this kind of experience? I said that you don't need to be involved in any of the rituals if you want to, but be more like a journalist standing in the back, just observing and taking observation as to what you experience. Well, these 2 students that were friends, they said that they couldn't do that, and they were afraid to do that. And they knew that I was a Christian because when I taught comparative religions, what I found was that if I didn't say the religious background I came from, the students would be distracted trying to figure it out. The entire semester, they would be wondering, where is she coming from and what does she really believe? I taught all of the religions to the best of my ability with all of their wisdom, but they seemed distracted by wondering which one I personally subscribed to. So I decided early on as a teacher that I would tell them, I'm a Christian, that's my tradition, that's how I was raised in this culture, and yet I find so much wisdom and so many good things in these other faith traditions. I told them all that if these traditions had absolutely nothing to offer humanity, I believe they would have died out thousands of years ago, like so many other fads and fashions have. So this couple said to me, you know, well, we're afraid. And they said, we know that you're a Christian too. And they said, aren't you afraid of going into a temple or a mosque, something other than your own tradition? And Jesus will return and see you there and realize that you're being unfaithful. And I said, no, I'm not afraid at all. No. So they ended up dropping my class because it just was not a good fit for how they wanted to learn comparative religions. They didn't want to do this particular project. And there's really no other way in my class for people to learn about other traditions other than actually visiting some of these sites and meeting some of the practitioners of these traditions. Well, over the years, I had other people ask me also, aren't you afraid of studying other traditions? Isn't that somehow going to lead you off of your path or somehow cloud or muddy your own sense of your spiritual practice? And I always said to them, I understand your question, but that question comes from a place of not having studied. Because once you study the major traditions of the world, you'll find that they're not threatening at all. You either believe them or you don't. It's not that big of a deal. It's just like meeting a neighbor. They're not going to threaten your way of life if somebody else has a different way of life. You're either going to learn from them or you're going to say, hey, you and I are a little bit different in this way. So for instance, Hinduism generally, not always, but generally believes in reincarnation. Well, I come from a tradition that does not believe in reincarnation. And so it's not a threat that I feel differently than they do about this. It's not a big deal. On the other hand, the tradition of Buddhism, Buddhism does a lot of meditation. Well, as a Christian, we have a rich history of meditation in Christianity as well, but it's just not as much historically lifted up and taught as much as it is in Buddhism. And so I've learned a lot about meditation from the tradition of Buddhism that I then apply to my own tradition of Christianity, and it very much fits it. So yeah, there's not a threat there. It's not scary to learn other religious traditions or to meet people from other backgrounds. Just this last week, I met with a couple of Muslim practitioners. One was an imam, which is the name for a clergy person, and another was an administrator of a mosque. They were lovely, wonderful people. We agreed on a lot of stuff. Of course, some of the things that we think are different, and so we respect each other's values. It's just a matter of having manners and getting along and knowing where you agree and knowing where you see things differently because of your cultural tradition or your philosophical differences, and that's okay. You're not there to convince one another of your correctness and their incorrectness. And most traditions won't try to convert or proselytize with you either. And so you don't need to feel threatened in their presence. My basic belief is that we don't know what all people are here to learn. And we don't know what all people are here to teach. So is it my job to make everybody a Christian like me? No, absolutely not. That's not my place. That is the work of God and each person to figure all of that out. That requires the infinitely intelligent mind of God, not mine. My job is to proclaim what I know to be true, which is the understanding of salvation through Christ, my understanding of how I walk with Christ and that enriches my life daily, my understanding that God tells me to love God with all I've got and to love my neighbor and to love myself. That is enough to fill up my day. That, for me to love God with all I've got, to love my neighbor who is in need, no matter who they are or what label they wear, and to better and better learn how to love myself, that pretty much takes up 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. Proselytizing and converting is not my place. It's not my job. Historically, it's caused much more damage than good. We can see that historically. And when somebody tries to do that to me, it's flat out received as pushy and rude. And so I don't want to be doing that to other people. What I can do is love, respect people, learn from people. I'm sure people learn from me as we all share. And the world is too small to not understand who our neighbors are and to just carry around rumors, prejudice, and fear. And so to the extent that we can love our neighbors, it's good for the entire world, I believe. The thing is, when you sit around your Thanksgiving table with your family, there's no two of you that are identical. So even if it's in your own family where you learn to tolerate each other's differences, to find common things that you agree upon, we can do that same kind of thing with people in all kinds of religious traditions. Now, some people will refuse to have those kinds of respectful conversations. With me, if somebody absolutely refuses to have a respectful conversation, I don't participate. I'm not going to be abused verbally or abuse others. And so I won't have a conversation if somebody's not going to be respectful. But if somebody's going to be mutually respectful, I'll talk to anybody. It's a pleasure to talk about people's cultural and spiritual traditions and backgrounds. So I would like to help ease the fear that people might have about these things. Go visit a mosque on open house days that they have. Go visit a temple. Go visit a synagogue. Chances are you will be received very warmly with people that will not try to convert you in any way, but people who will be impressed that you're trying to reach out and know who your neighbors are. So I hope that makes sense. If you enjoyed these videos, please subscribe and click that little bell notification so that you get notified when new videos come out. Thank you and God bless. Bye-bye.